If you like this video, make sure to subscribe to Downfall Network for more cool content. What's up, everyone? Thralls Metal here once again. I'm Necrotic Nick, and I have an album review for you. As you notice, I'm in the big room, all by myself. Decided to give Jammin' John the night off. He's been working hard, needed some sleep. But there was an album that I absolutely had to cover, and I feel bad for you, John, because you didn't make it out for this one because, oh my god, this was a fun one to go over. I'm going to go over the newest offering from Anaal Nathrakh, Endarkenment. This came out on the 2nd of October on Metal Blade Records. For those who don't know, this band formed in 1999 in Birmingham, England. It is a two-man band. Pretty much, it's always been a two-man band. Split between Dave Hunt, also known as Vitriol, who does all the vocals on here, and he's also the visual designer, which is partially why I'm not putting the uncensored album cover up, and believe me, we're going to get to that. And Erumator, also known as Mick Kenny, on guitars, bass, and all the programming. And both these guys have other projects they're involved in too. For a long time, Dave Hunt was the frontman for Benediction. I think he only appeared on one album, but he was their longtime touring vocalist as well. And Mick Kenny actually has written songs for the metalcore band Motionless in White, which I did not know. But it kind of explains a little bit in terms of their more industrial leanings, because Anaal Nathrakh is its own thing. They are a blend of black metal, death metal, industrial metal, grindcore, flat out noise. They're pretty much all those things, and they're the most extreme part of those things. Everything about this band is insane sounding. Even in their more melodic moments, it's still extremely melodic, and it creates these giant contrasts between their sound. Right away, opening track, the title track, Endarkenment, has quite possibly one of the catchiest choruses I've heard them write. But this album really sort of labors the catchy choruses, at least for most of it. For the verses, it's all layered screaming, chunky, dissonant guitars. It's pretty much a blend of like Strapping Young Lad, circa Alien, and I would say Marduk and Napalm Death. All those thrown into one blender. And then you get to the giant chorus, which is insanely soaring and epic. It doesn't seem like it's the same band at the same time, but it is, because you listen to the production across the board, which Mick Kenny does all the production on here, mixing, mastering, all of it. And it's noisy across the board. Everything is fiercely layered. The guitars are definitely thick and chunky, and the vocals almost always have some sort of odd effect on them, whether it be like just something to make them sound more staticky or more reverb on them, or just layering different screams, like same takes, but just insane sounding. It sounds like vocal fits almost, rather than, you know, traditional vocals. They're just nuts sounding. But the thing is, they make them work. And when they bring in a chorus, generally they're huge. And this album is not bereft of melody. It isn't all just scathing noise and just pummeling beatdowns. There's a lot of that. But there are clear-cut hooks throughout this entire album. The Age of Starlight Ends, which I had to giggle when I heard the first line of the chorus, because it involves the phrase 1,000 cocks, which he's not referring to what you think he might be referring to. It's actually roosters, but they call them cocks there. Either way, I giggled because I'm immature and I have the sense of humor of a 16-year-old. But flat out, this is such a giant, huge chorus. And the thing I like about this song is they have these kind of wailing synths in the background. Like, they're kind of like an operatic scream, but you can still tell they're a synth. And he actually harmonizes with them at certain points, which is really cool. It's really interesting hearing like how nasty it is from the get-go. And then it starts building to this pre-chorus, which starts sounding very epic, almost kind of power metal-y, except it didn't annoy me. I'm not a big fan of power metal, that's me. When it gets down to the chorus, it is this giant, soaring, epic thing. And it's just all those different elements working together to form this absolutely crazy but insanely catchy song. There's even some nice groovy stomps in here, which groove is kind of a thing that doesn't pop on here as much. Like, this is almost entirely blast beats, walls of dissonance, thrashy gallops. Like, when you get down to like a big groovy breakdown, sometimes you're really thankful for it, because it gives you a chance to like, all right, I can settle in here for a minute. But when they throw them in, they are definitely a little bit more towards like Fear Factory or Meshuggah, but almost always with some weird samples on top. Like there's parts in here where it sounds like they sampled a bar fight, or they were actually fighting in the studio and just decided to record it. I think on the song Punish Them, which I think is the band's mission statement because they absolutely just whoop your ass on this album, it sounds like Dave Hunt recorded different vocals of him yelling at himself. That might be it, I don't know, but it sounds like pretty much a fight in the studio, but it's kind of buried in the mix. And this mix is insane. I have nothing but respect for Mick Kinney for being able to work with all these layers, because this is just absolutely loaded with different soundscapes. Synths, guitars, the bass lines, and these pummeling drums, all these different layered vocals on here. There is a lot on here. It pretty much never stops. You might get a few pauses in there too where it sounds like it's Dave Hunt shrieking through the drive-through speaker, but when it comes down to empty spaces, there really isn't a lot. This is all about just continuously building this hostile atmosphere. Like, it's almost unapproachable. Like, this album doesn't like anybody. But to be honest, none of their albums like anybody, and that's kind of their appeal. They are everything extreme all the time. But it's interesting because sometimes the choruses can feel so welcoming and uplifting, despite all the hatred and just nastiness hurled at you. It can feel very epic. The chorus on Feeding the Death Machine is particularly just epic sounding. It has these giant, almost like church organ synths behind this huge epic chorus. And you even get a nice little guest solo from Jason Sukoff on there, who absolutely just rips it. This album does go for the melodic a little bit more, I have to say. Like, not too much though. It isn't as though they pretty much stripped their brand of just insane whatever they do. It definitely has more like memorable choruses, more punchy choruses, which they're really good about that, but they're kind of pockmarked on their album. Generally they go for the extreme almost all the time. And I get that. That's their brand. That's their thing they do. They want to make the most extreme music possible. At least I think that's what they're doing. I think they're pretty much just writing an album that fits this shitty year. And man, does it ever. The song Create Art, Though the World May Perish, is particularly bleak, but I don't know, I just kind of find some sliver of hope in it, even though this one kind of skips over most of the clean vocals and just goes for gut punches. Nice broken down riffs, and again, loads and loads of dissonant layering. It is just a hostile album. Now I have to bring up the track Libidinous, I think that's how you say that, or the other title, in quotes, A Pig with Cocks in Its Eyes. I'm not putting that up because, well, yeah, no, that just, it shouldn't be seen. I get you wanted to make an artistic statement, but that is a horrifying image. And if you're bored, just look it up, because it's pretty wild. This is definitely one of the more groovy songs, at least when it comes down to the main riff. This is kind of bringing in like a Meshuggah staccato riff. But the real fun is the high-pitched Halford-like wails on the chorus, and I am consistently impressed with Dave Hunt's range on this. This guy does vocal calisthenics pretty much. Like, I think his vocal cords are shredded from all the screaming on here. At least it sounds like they should be. But man, he can really sing and hit some surprisingly high notes and absolutely nail them. I even wrote down that there's a blast beat section where he absolutely just pukes his guts up into a microphone, and I kind of think I'm right there, because it just sounded extra gurgly and phlegmy, like there was a definite mix of blood and something else in his throat. It was rough. Overall, this album is a monster, but again, it's strange because it is, I think, possibly catchier than a lot of their other albums. Like, in terms of accessibility, which their level of accessibility isn't particularly high, especially for more mainstream listeners. This is for people who want something absolutely chaotic and nasty, and man, are you gonna get it. I'm gonna go ahead and give this 4 stars. This is another banger from them. A couple of moments there where I kind of got lost in the wall of blast beats and noise, but man, when they deliver a hook, they deliver it. And this is a very riffy album. There's lots of catchy riffs, great melodies, but somehow they never lose that extra harsh edge that they definitely have. Killer album. I strongly recommend it. Definitely check this one out. So if you enjoyed the review, give it a thumbs up. And if you are new to the channel, subscribe, because we do stuff like this all the time. Catch you guys later.